Cool. Okay.
So,
All right. So, kia ora tātou, Bilivanaka hello. Ko Pukitapu te maunga, ko te arai te wai, ko horauta te waka, ko rongo whakata rawa te aitanga mahaki te iwi. Ko Ngāti Maru te hapu, ko whakato te marae, no Turanga Nui a Kiwa aho, ko RATAPU tōku whānau, ko STARR tōku ingoa. Kia ora, my name is STARR RATAPU. I whakapapa to the iwi or tribes, Rongo Whakata and Taitanga Mahaki in the Tairāwhiti region of Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is on the east coast of the North Island. Whakapapa means ancestral ties. I've spent most of my life in Aotearoa, but I also whakapapa to where most of you are at the moment, in California through my mum. So two sides of the Pacific there. I am currently the Taonga Māori Collection Manager at Tamaki Paengahira, Auckland War Memorial Museum. In this role, I'm a kaitiaki or guardian of one of the world's largest Taonga Māori collections, which includes about 13,000 treasures from across Aotearoa's many iwi and ohe. But the research and collaboration I'm going to be talking about today goes back to my time as a summer intern at the museum in late 2022. So I spent a really privileged 10 weeks with Tamaki Paengahira's Human Remains Repatriation team, which is currently made up of Matua Bobby Newsom and Carly O'Hara. But at the time, Ruby, who's with us today, was backfilling for Carly while she was on maternity leave. And Ruby is now doing her PhD at the University of Vienna, somewhere in the realm of Indigenous conservation methods, which is really awesome. So during this time, I was fresh out of my museum's master's program at the University of Auckland and got to experience a large public museum for the first time. I had learned a little bit about Tonga repatriation previously, but wasn't really aware of all of the mahi involved in the repatriation of ours and others' ancestors from museums' colonial collecting pasts. So just a little bit of background. Aotearoa, New Zealand has a nationally funded repatriation program called the Ngā Kahu National Repatriation Partnership. It was established in 2018 and is a network made up of 17 participating museums across the country. They meet regularly with staff based out of the National Museum Te Papa to provide advice and collaborative research on the repatriation of human remains from their institutions. The vast majority of remains housed in Aotearoa's museums are Koiwi Māori or Māori ancestors. This collaboration seeks to support the physical and spiritual care or tikanga for all ancestors housed in New Zealand's museums. They also support engagement with iwi or tribes and ancestor families, as well as coordinated repatriations and national policy. A lot of really great work is going on in this space to get as many ancestors returned to their families as soon as possible. Despite this, there is a gap in the repatriation network's current mahi. There are a number of human remains who whakapapa to various international Pacific communities. With Ruby's expert guidance, I was tasked with researching a specific Fijian ancestor in the museum's care and creating guidelines that could be used in future repatriations to the Pacific. So all of these statistics are a little bit out of date, as Teresi and I learned at the Hui 2 weeks ago. So Jamie might want to hop in the chat just to update them. So at the time of writing, a 2018 survey had been undertaken by the New Zealand Repatriation Research Network, which revealed an estimated 127 Pacific human remains across Aotearoa's museums. An updated survey took place, I think, this year, which placed the number closer to 200. And of the many repatriations that have taken place across the country, only 5 have been to the Pacific so far, 2 of which were from Tamaki Paengahira. And so as a result, there is a gap in the repatriation network's current mahi. The objective of my project was to research the provenance of one of the Pacific ancestors in the museum's care, specifically a person or I tumbo tumbo from Kandavu province in VT, Fiji. My research and the process behind it was hoped to serve as a blueprint for future Pacific repatriations across the network, ultimately filling a gap by creating practical guidance for other institutions to follow within the Pacific repatriation space. So my research for this project aimed to center community and cultural knowledge in the process of repatriation. As the ancestor I was researching was outside of my own whakapapa, I wanted to ensure the way I approached this kaupapa was guided by Indigenous Fijian research methodologies, talanoa or discussion with community knowledge holders, and existing Pacific frameworks, such as Tamaki Paengahida's Tuiulava, the Pacific Dimension. Through this, I was able to decenter the collector and the ancestor's provenance, while creating an inclusive report for any whānau or clan members, or Matangali or Yavusa that may become involved in the process as it progressed. So prior to beginning the research itself, I landed on some research methodologies created by Toki Fijian academics, for which the kaupapa could be built using. One of the Indigenous research frameworks that guided my project was Dr. Unusi Mbumba Mbamba's Indigenous Fijian Vanua Research Framework. This methodology outlines a set of principles and steps to follow within the research space of Toki Fijian culture. The concept of Vanua relates to the interconnectedness of people to their land, environment, cultures, relationships, spirit world, beliefs, knowledge systems, values, and gods. As a research guide, these steps reflect Fijian worldviews, lived experiences, and various means and forms of knowledge systems outside of traditional Western academia. Key principles include the necessity of Fijian language knowledge within the research process, and the need for it to benefit Fijians, not just the researcher and their institution. I also utilized a planting framework created by Teresi, and I was just wondering if you wanted to speak to that, Teresi.
So I've just wanted to say how I was very inspired by Professor Unesi Nambombamba, Fijian Vanua Research Framework. I was really blessed to use her framework in my PhD research as well, and I have to say that it really guided my research really, really well. And as I was using it from step one, all the way to the end of my research, using her framework all the way through, I was inspired to create my own. During my research, I challenged myself and told distinguished Professor Stephen Ratuva, and I told him that I would like to create my own. And so he was a little bit startled. He didn't realize that I was going to create a framework. He was thinking I should write a thesis. And so I told him, I said, why can't I do both? And so he said, okay. So because I grew up in Dolisuba, for those of you who know Fiji very well, it's right up in the mountains of the province of Netasiri. I grew up in a family of farmers. So my neighbors and my parents and everyone that I was surrounded with were associated with land cultivation. Hence this framework that you see right here. Thank you, STARR, for including that in your work in the Auckland Museum. I feel really moved and happy that you're able to apply it in this way. So for me, creating this planting framework allows me as a researcher and those coming after me who are associated with land cultivation to look at land cultivation and research on the same level. How you plant your seed, nurturing the idea, and then allowing that plant to fruit, to have the fruits and that's kind of like the result of my research. So when I was researching, I was moved at the same time that was sort of something it was like a parallel for me. And so that's what you're looking at right now. And I'm currently writing a paper about this, but maybe STARR, you didn't know, but in my thesis as well, I actually created two frameworks, which was a shock to my supervisor. I'm sure he'll watch my this video as well. I ended up creating a second one too, which
Hmm.
was based on respect. As a Fijian, many of us using the word wakarokoroko, respect in the essence of our daily life. But I thought that should also be brought into the space of research and how we as Itoke, utilize that on a day-to-day basis. We can also use the same thing in research too. So I just thought I mentioned that. But again, thank you, Star, for sharing this today.
Oh, beautiful, Vinaka. I will be looking that up after this. Thanks so much. Okay. So, as well as those frameworks, we also enlisted the Talanoa research model. So Talanoa takes on a Vanua framework and is dictated by the culture and values of the knowledge expert. Tadisi very kindly agreed to be our knowledge expert for this kaupapa. And serendipitously, she and the Fijian ancestor housed here at Auckland Museum are both from the same province of Fiji, Kandavu. So that was a theme that just sort of kept coming up, timing and serendipity. Ruby and I would meet with Tadisi on a fortnightly basis to check in on our progress, ask her any questions we may have, as well as build a glossary of terminology together. Her guidance and expert knowledge really shaped the entire report, and laughter through our many technical issues kept the sessions light. Um, if you're there, Tadisi, did you want to talk through your experiences as well with those sessions?
Yeah, I think,
Thank you.
thank you, Star. I think the Talanos sessions are really important. I think for, working with indigenous communities, I think we are such a, group of people that, face-to-face Talanoa or sharing, creates that very special bond, and also to create an element of trust is really important when it comes to repatriation. So I felt that our Talanos session really, opened up, a lot of things that, if we didn't have this Talanos session, we would not have had the opportunity to, understand how the collections was like for the Auckland Museum, and even, how this ancestor from Kandavu, ended up being in Aotearoa, and all like the little details. And I think every time we meet, I think between the three of us, there was more wealth of knowledge keep adding into our kete of knowledge. And so I just thought, having the Talano session that you kindly, organized between you and Ruby was really useful, for me wearing my community hat. That really made me as a community member of Fiji, I felt like I was heard. I felt like I was respected, because I'm speaking on behalf of my people, and it's not easy, to represent your Vanua. But when an institution like the Auckland Museum, that everyone looks up to, takes the time to talk to community members, you have that bond and that element of trust there, and the people in the community, they want to do more, when the museum or the institution, wants to listen. I think that was the really key thing I liked about our Talama session, that I noticed with you and Ruby, you were asking questions, but listening as well was really something I can take from our sessions.
Vinaka. Yeah, that really was the cornerstone of this entire project. And it's sort of what we based every recommendation we came up with afterwards around. Yeah, there really is no mahi within this space without community members. So thank you so much again. It was really, really important and really special. So yeah, I mean, through those community sessions with Tadisi, we were able to build a glossary of terminology within the repatriation space in the Itoki Bowen Fijian language. We use this dialect as it is the most widely spoken, and we couldn't be certain which Matangali or family the I Chumbu Chumbu belonged to. So key terms such as repatriation, human remains, ancestors, research, and tikanga, as well as many more, were translated into Itoki Fijian, to ensure an inclusive repatriation process and document. This was then uploaded to Tamaki Paengahida's Share Drive and Vernon, which is our collection management system, to ensure the museum's repatriation staff can access it going forward. And I also plan to share it with the museum's Pacific Collection team, as some of it may add to a previous glossary, which was created and used in the Pacific Collection Access Project, a now completed project that aimed to enrich the museum's Pacific collections through Talanoa with community knowledge holders. So for the research itself, we built on a existing report created by Carly. And through that, I was able to delve deeper into some previous findings from the museum's records, while also adding to the cultural research for this Itumbutumbu. One interesting finding was the existence of a red pigment-like substance on the ancestors' remains. We consulted with archaeologist David Burley of Simon Fraser University, whose previous work in Viti Levu from the Lapita period noted red ochre residue on some of the Itumbutumbu located in that area. He noted that this application was likely intentional, and further research related to the study of cave paintings in Vatulele found that the red paint used in the Vatulele petroglyphs is consistent with the use of permanent color, once used to rub on bones and valuable objects to indicate mana in old times. So that was a really interesting finding. And using the tenets of the Itoki Fijian research frameworks discussed earlier, I also included cultural contexts of both Kandavu and Whiter Viti, using indigenous sources as much as I could as my references. One important factor was to acknowledge other communities within Kandavu. In the context of this report, it's more than likely that the Itumbutumbu Suini Tamata or remains currently within Tamaki Paenga's care belong to an indigenous Itoki Fijian. This is due to the museum's acquisition date of the Itumbutumbu being in the 1880s. And it's likely that Dr. Stockwell, who was the donor, had the Itumbutumbu in his possession for some time prior to the bequest. The first Indo-Fijians did not arrive in Viti until 1879, and were mostly brought to the larger islands of Viti Levu and Vanua Levu. The Indo-Fijian presence in current-day Kandavu province is therefore limited. So as a result, the report did not include any cultural context or terminology relating to the Indo-Fijian community. However, future repatriation efforts from Aotearoa's museums to Viti will need to consider Indo-Fijian involvement, provenance dependent. I've gone back a slide. We also inquired after other repatriations from international institutions back to Viti, as this would help to inform our kaupapa or project. We found one known previous repatriation of Fijian Suini Tamata from a Western institution back to Viti at the time of writing. This occurred from the Simon Fraser University in Canada in the 1990s. David Burley, who was a faculty member of the Department of Archaeology at Simon Fraser at the time, has confirmed that the repatriation from Canada to Viti was the result of an agreement between the university and the Museum of Fiji. Salvaged human remains from eroding sand dunes were sent to Simon Fraser University for analysis, and then were subsequently sent back to Viti and are now cared for by the museum. A second institution, the Bishop Museum in Hawaii, began a repatriation process for human remains from Tonga, Fiji, and Vanuatu in 2009 or 2010. Having inquired with the staff at the Bishop Museum for the purpose of this report, it had only been confirmed that the Tongan human remains were repatriated at that time. So unfortunately, the Vanuatu and Fijian remains were not returned. This project also led to the creation of a separate document of recommendations, both specific to Tamaki Paengahida and the wider repatriation network. I've included some of these in this slide, such as wrapping the ancestors' Suini Tamata or remains in white mussy, and the importance of remunerating knowledge holders for their expert guidance. The purpose of this was to identify the immediate needs of the Itumbutumbu in Tamaki Paengahida's care, and to think of wider but manageable steps institutions can take towards implementing a similar process for their own Pacific human remains, breaking down initial barriers to this. These recommendations aim to be both practical and culturally informed. In no way can it be a one-size-fits-all guide, but it does serve as a foundation for community engagement and Indigenous methodologies within the network's mahi, essentially a toolkit. Also, very importantly, we needed to think of ways to ensure this process and document could be shared, accessed, and fed back into across the repatriation network. So Tadisi and I presented this work to the network 2 weeks ago, and that was sort of an initial introduction to the report and its recommendations. But the network itself will need to delve deeper into it as Pacific repatriations become a reality. Further options might involve knowledge holder-led workshops or Talanoa sessions, as well as regular project meetings that will enable the process to continue to evolve and grow. A great first step would be for a collaborative effort across institutions where possible. This ensures a greater reach for available resources, knowledge, and funding. So building on the 2018 survey of human remains in Aotearoa's museums, a detailed questionnaire requesting community of origin information for each Pacific ancestor should be distributed. And then the existing process for initiating group repatriations across the network should be adapted and implemented. Following a questionnaire, institutions with ancestral remains from the same community should be connected. It would be really great to see a shared kitty or basket of knowledge and experiences created across the network, and for community knowledge holders to be brought into this to widen our scope and strengthen ties. This mahi is currently on pause at Auckland Museum, and that's just while the network works towards a collaborative effort. A key thing that kept coming up during this last hui Tadisi and I attended was timing, as I mentioned before. We need to make sure repatriations aren't only done right on our end, but also that the communities are ready to receive their ancestors. It's not about just giving the ancestors back to wash our hands of them, but to make sure their families are supported at their own pace to receive them. And so as with a lot of our taonga, many communities won't be aware of what we're holding inside of our institutions until we approach them. But making sure we're community focused and culturally led early on will create a safe space for the families welcoming their ancestors home from across the Wasa. So yeah, thank you, Vinaka Vakalevu, for listening. Was there anything you wanted to speak to Tadisi? I still have your photos from the Germany repatriation if you wanted to go through that. Otherwise, happy to take any questions. But yeah, thank you.
Vinaka Vakalevu STARR for sharing your work with us. And I'm glad that Ruby is also here. Maybe Ruby, would you like to share anything as well from your experience of our Talanoa sessions too with STARR, because you were the one that made the connection in the first place. Is that okay, Ruby?
Yes, sure, I can say a few words. I'm trying to like go back. What is it now? 2 years? Oh no, over years. Over years since being in that space. First of all, just big mihi lava to Taurisian staff for this amazing mahi that you two undertook, as well as continue to develop even after I had left the museum. I really, I think there's nothing more warming for us in the space to see like these mahi kind of continue whether with you or not, like knowing that we have those people in place.
Yeah. Ruby, I think you are sounding a little bit echoey. I don't know. STARR, would you like to maybe unshare your screen and see if I can? Yeah. Do you have another? Do you have another?
I'll jump back on. How about this? Does that sound better?
Yes, that's better.
Oh, okay. I had a different microphone on.
Okay, that's better.
Just
Thank
switched
you.
to something else.
Okay, go for it.
Did you guys hear what I said just before, or should I repeat
No, I
that?
think you have to repeat it again if that's okay.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to send a huge mihi and whakatau tele lava to both Tarisi and STARR, um, for that you guys did all the work, and as well as even after I left the museum, they continued to do that work. And I was just touching on how it's nice that whether we're there in that space or not, it's nice to know that there are people around that can that know the importance of these things and will continue those things. So um, just that. And then I guess what I can speak on is how this all came about. When I was I was covering one of the repatriation, I forgot the name of the role, but it was a researcher role, and I had covered this person for 1 year while she was on maternity leave. And I'm Samoan, I'm Pacific, and I couldn't help but be nosy and find out what do we have in the collection that are from the Pacific. And there were a few. There's not very many, but there are some in the collection, and so that's still quite important. And when the opportunity came up to do a project, I knew I had to start something around the Pacific, because even when I went to the repatriation, the national network in repatriation in Aotearoa, the Pacific, work around the Pacific repatriation was quite, was very small and had been like some one-off repatriation in the past, but there hasn't been any continuation of expanding that and really researching and developing frameworks and protocols around that. So that's how it all came about, and that's how STARR came into the picture. And as well as Matua Bobby, like some of you may know Matua Bobby. He was a huge support in this as well, and so when we had STARR on board, I was thanking the stars. I was just very grateful to have somebody that you could you can tell that she has quite compassion, and was really invested and very genuinely into this. And there was some concern that, she had shared some concerns of not whakapapaing from the human remain that we're working on. And it's just just really trying to I've been in that position as well of also working with collections that I don't whakapapa to as well. And so just really helping one another and supporting one another in those spaces. And honestly, like I loved my time in the repatriation space, and it's kind of that's the other. I've started my PhD journey, and I kind of came on this journey with kind of an idea of what I wanted to do, but I also have this nagging, I also have this other part of me that really want to do something with, the repatriation of human remains, particularly ones that are from Samoa. And so, just that 1 year in repatriation was all that I needed to, really inspire me. And I don't know what else to add. And maybe you might have questions for me, but that's just kind of what I remember from my experience being there. And so just another big mihi and whakatau te lava to STARR and Tarisi.
Kia ora. Thanks, Ruby.
Yeah, go STARR.
I just want to say, Ruby, you were the greatest support. I had such a great experience. Thank you so much. And Ruby's also the reason why I am in the role I'm in now at the museum. She pushed me into applying and said I would be great when I didn't think that I would be. And here I am, collection manager Tongabadi. So yeah, thank you so much. A lot of good has really come from this. And yeah, hopefully the mahi can continue. I think next steps, are the network working together to, follow through on a sort of more in-depth survey. And hopefully from there, we can get this kaupapa going.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you, STARR. The collaboration, I think, comes back to that point of working together. And now you are in that role as collections manager, Maori. Again, the support network within the museum is really important, and having another staff member to support you, it's really, look at the evidence now. I was so happy when I saw your job title, STARR. I was like, hey, she was an intern the last time I spoke to her, and now she's a collections manager. Wow, amazing things have happened in between.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll open it up to the members of the audience, please. You can unmute and ask or make a comment to STARR's presentation. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Nuhi.
So the
Go for
question,
it.
Bula. So the question is, what is the museum's obligation in terms of returning the human remains? Because I'm sure that they didn't ask the families or the communities when they were taken from our communities. But now it seems like you're putting in place protocols to return them, when in the first place, is there even a paper trail as to how those human remains got into the museum's collections? What is their obligation in terms of doing the right thing now that they know that there are human remains that shouldn't have really been there, or human remains that came there unbeknown to the communities from which they were taken from? I mean, I think it's great to repatriate them, but to put emphasis on the communities or the families when they may have never been told in the first place that those human remains were going to be taken.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't speak for every institution, but I know at least at Auckland Museum, the vast majority of the ancestors in our care came sort of in the late 1800s, early 1900s, during that colonial shift. So at that time, the institution was a colonial collecting museum. And I'm sure, unfortunately, communities were not notified. There would have been no talanoa at that point, sadly. But that is why at Auckland Museum, at least, there's a dedicated repatriation network team. So that's Matua, Bobby, and Carly, and Ruby, who, at the time was backfilling that role. And Carly's job as repatriation researcher is to go back over those paper trails and to build provenance or whakapapa links for all of the ancestors in the museum's care, which can be quite difficult. But they do have a full-time team dedicated to that. And as I said earlier in the presentation, we aim to work at the community's pace. So it is a lot about just bringing awareness that a community's ancestors are in institutional care, and just working with them and supporting them through their return when the families are ready. In terms of obligation, I, on a policy level, can't speak to that myself, unfortunately. I know that there is a national policy which is created by the Ngākahu Repatriation Network, and all 17 museums within that network will need to follow that policy, which includes deaccessioning all human remains in museum care. So they're no longer collection objects. They're seen as people. And that network exists to sort of accelerate the mahi and get them returned. But the policy stuff itself, I can't really speak to, unfortunately. But I hope that helps.
Might be able to comment slightly on that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the policy might be the same from when I was there, but Auckland Museum have a policy where, you know, all human remains are to be repatriated, and so there's a real sense of obligation for the museum to do that, and that's why they have created that team that STARR has mentioned. And part of that obligation is working closely with communities to know really, you know, all that you were asking about, you know, how do we approach communities, you know, the source communities of where this human remain is from, and what are some mitigation, what are some areas that we really need to consider, and who do we need to talk to, some leaders, or so that's kind of why Tarisi, this relationship has taken place for Auckland Museum and Tarisi, just to start having that conversation to know, yeah, it's really starting from scratch, and beginning that dialogue with the communities, and then that would hopefully go into, you know, towards an Indigenous-led, or in this case, a Fijian-led, Kandavu-led repatriation that hopefully, you know, takes care of all of those things, especially the communities, to prepare them to receive, just like STARR had mentioned in her presentation.
I think in some ways you have answered a little bit of it, but it still remains that the emphasis has to be on the museums who receive those human remains, not on the communities to now figure out how they should bury them. Because the communities, as I said, they did not know that they were taken. And it's great to see that, but if there are some communities who don't want them back, what is your plan? I think the museum must take leadership of those remains, and because, you know, as I said, they were taken from communities without their permission or without their knowledge. You cannot now go back to the communities and say, oh, we found some human remains, we've traced them, we think they're yours. How would you like us to deal with it? It's a bit unfair from where I'm sitting anyway.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Nuhi. And I think, you know, when you think about like the time of when this particular that came over to Aotearoa, as STARR mentioned, it's the late 1800s, early 1900s. So most of the time, like the current stuff now, we inherited, yeah, a lot of these collections. And so we, you know, trying our very best to right the wrong, and righting the wrong takes a lot of time, because, you know, we have to have that consultation, especially through provenance research. So yeah, I think we take your point on board, and I think now many museums are now talking to one another, you know, even on a global stage, where many museums associations are, you know, sharing the information online, where we can all learn from creating or maybe improving current policies that may have been so ancient, you know, and very archaic and very colonial, if I can say, you know. So now, with a lot of our indigenous communities and our indigenous people getting more involved in the space, things are changing, and I'm sure it's changing for the better, because now, you know, we are incorporating, you know, our cultural protocol, that element of respect, and even the communication back to Fiji. You know, I was happy, Nuri, in this case, that the Auckland Museum contacted me, and we gave the advice that they should go to the Itoke ministry, the indigenous ministry back in Fiji, because eventually it has to go to Kandavu, because that was where the tracing of this particular ancestor went back to the island of Kandavu. And yeah, so definitely, I think the point I'm trying to say is, again, you know, we've inherited a lot of these things, but now the museum space is changing, you know, it's shifting. And so it's shifting physically with new Indigenous people coming into the space, but also I think it's critical that the policy that you rightly mentioned there, Nuhi, has to be taken into consideration. Making these policies more relevant, making them more suitable, to what our Indigenous people really want to happen.
Yes, and I
Anyone
just
else?
want, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
can I just
No,
make one
Nuhi.
point before we hand it out too? Is that I think there has to be recognition by the museums that those human remains were taken to be studied because, for racial agendas. They weren't taken because, for whatever reason. They were taken for those specific reasons. And I think, acknowledging that the wrongs of what happened all those years ago, 1800s, whenever, we know what was happening then for those of us. But I think it's important that the museums acknowledge the wrongs in terms of those human remains and let those communities know why those human remains were taken in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you, Nuhi. STARR?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah, as you said, Tadesi, it's about righting the wrongs that we've inherited. And yeah, I think that's definitely something to take on board, Nahi, that we should, be maybe more transparent in why these ancestors are sitting with us in our collections. But yeah, as Tadisi mentioned, we're sort of starting from scratch. The repatriation network's only existed since 2018, so a lot of room for growth. And I think it's discussions, korero, like this that help us to grow. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for that point.
Okay, thank you, Nuhi. Thank you, STARR. Anyone else? Amber? Hi, Amber. I know you also work in this space, but for the rest who are here, please, feel free to ask any questions or comments to STARR or myself or Ruby. Hi,
Kia ora,
Amber.
STARR. Apologies, I'm not dressed for this occasion, so I'll just keep
No
my
worries.
camera on. But I really enjoyed your kōrero and learning about the mahi that you've been doing. It's quite refreshing to see how I guess we're evolving or we're moving in this space. And Nuhi, I acknowledge your comments about our institutions having to acknowledge and own up to the things that happened in the past. It's I guess it's something that I have thought a lot about. Oh, excuse me, now I'm getting emotional. But it's I've thought a lot about this in my time working in this space. And it is really time for us to be a bit braver, I think, our museums. And that doesn't have to mean just our Māori and Indigenous staff. So yeah, I think we're at a good time where we can make much more braver moves in this space to actually own up to what we did and all the hurt and I guess generational trauma that time has caused. But it's just so awesome actually to see, more Indigenous people in this space taking the lead, taking the initiative, asking those hard questions, like you said about decentering the collector. So I think, I just wanted to say it was great. I really enjoyed your kōrero, and your recommendations for us in the network and in this mahi actually. It's time we got back together and had a real wānanga and talanoa about how we move forward in the space as institutions and Indigenous peoples in these institutions. So it's very timely, and I'm sorry I missed the your kōrero at the Repatriation Network. I had some other kaupapa, but I'm glad I got the opportunity to see it today. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you more, and maybe I might come up up to Auckland too for a trip, and we can have a coffee. So kia ora,
Love
thank
that.
you.
Kia ora, Amber. Yeah, very, very keen to catch up at some point soon. Thank you for that. I'm really sorry. I'm being kicked out of this meeting room. Yeah, is
Okay,
there?
thank you. Thank you for that note, staff. For anyone else who's here, if you want to get hold of STARR, just let me know. I've got this session recorded, but maybe STARR, would you like to say a few words before you say goodbye? Because I know you've been kicked out. Can I talk to the
Sorry,
person who's
I only booked
getting you kicked
I
out?
only booked this until 1. Yeah, thank you so much again to DC for inviting me along to kōrero on this kaupapa. Yeah, the fact that it's been almost 2 years since we started it, and we're still following up, and yeah, sharing it. It's really, really special, and I really appreciate it. And yeah, I just look forward to working together more in the future. And to everybody else listening, thank you so much. Yeah, happy for my email to be shared. It would be great if we could not just have a network here, but a network across the Wasa, across the Moana. Yeah, I feel like there's so much knowledge and so much experience that we should be all sort of joining forces and working through these big issues together. So yeah, would love to stay in touch with everybody and get that going. So thank you so much
Wonderful. On
again,
behalf of all of
Vinaka.
us, Vinaka Vakalevu Stai, and all the very best. And we'll definitely see you in our next webinar.
Awesome.
Vinaka.
Thank you, Vinaka. Kakite.
Pakistan, Kakite.
Kakite.
Thank you so much, everybody. We're so blessed to have STARR with us, and we still have a couple more minutes. If anybody else have any other questions or comments, we are very happy. If I can just acknowledge our brother from Vanuatu, Kaitip Kami is here in Vanuatu, Bulavinaka. Thank you, my brother, for joining us. He has been involved in repatriation as well of ancestral remains from France, as well as in New York. Thank you, STARR. So we're really happy. We've got Kaitip here. We've got Moira and Tamabula Moira. She's our sister from Niue. Nuhi, this is your sister Moira. Dr. Mary is from Vanuatu. Dr. Mary, Kaitip, you can meet virtually here. Kaitip, Dr. Mary is from Vanuatu, who's also here. I'm sure you must have heard of Dr. Mere Sovic, who's done such an amazing work for our network of our women in Melanesia. Amazing, amazing woman. Thank you, Dr. Mere, for the work that you do. We've got Meked Besibes from Palau, another amazing woman as well, working in this field of the museum. She's now a consultant. Thank you, Meked, for joining us. We've got Huni, we've got Julie, one of my students here, and of course, Wilbert Alik from the Marshall Islands. Yeah, Wilbert Bolivinaka. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Apologies, I missed all of the session, but I just realized I read through the poster that this has to do with the museum's south. But because we've been also conducting a few things as well with the U.S., it's come to my attention that we've got human remains in the Bishop Museum as well as the American History Museum in New York. But we fall outside of NACPRA, but it's something we're working on. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Wilbert, for all the work that you do. Wilbert, for those of you who just joined us, Wilbert and Ruby were part of the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Museum network that we did 2 years ago, 2022, in Hawaii. Unfortunately, Wilbert was not able to be there physically because of COVID, but he's still part of our network. Thank you so much, Wilbert, for the work you do. I've seen your pictures here in the US, in Washington, D.C., and doing all this, networking, which is really important. And you're representing all of us, in all these spaces. Vinaka Wilbert for making the connections back to Pacific. Yeah. Kaitip, would you like to say a few words? I know you're not prepared, but I'll pick on you. But to say hi, and just so everybody else here can hear your voice.
Yeah, hello. I just want to share with you repatriation which we had end of last year, December. There's a university in United States, Illinois. They found out that there's a human skull and which has the name. And they work with me, and I work with the community to find out if this name is related to the community. So one of the people from the community says, "Oh, it's one of our relative." So in December last year, beginning of December, one of the staff from the university flew over to Vanuatu. So we bring back the skull to the owners. There was a big ceremony when they received the skull, and they kept it as how it should be kept when somebody dies. So yeah, so we bring it back to the community. So it's another repatriation which we made apart from the other two we repatriated before. Yes, that's it. That's one thing I want to share with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaitip. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. So we hope to invite you in September and October. We'll be organizing some webinars as well, focusing on the 3 regions of the Pacific. And it will be lovely to hear the work that you're doing for Vanuatu, Kaitip. Yeah, so you'll hear from me. You'll get something official in the mail. Okay, thank you. All right, I think we've reached our 1 hour time that we have put aside for this. Otherwise, Moira, Dr. Mary, anyone wants to say something? But I'll give it to Ruby if there's anything else you want to share before we conclude the session, because I know you did a lot of work with STARR. So for those of you who just joined us, Ruby is currently doing her PhD in Austria, in Vienna. And it's amazing how her work has expanded from working in the Auckland Museum, and now she's in Europe, furthering her studies. So Ruby, anything from you before we conclude our session? Thank you everybody for coming today.
Thank you for this opportunity. I don't know what to say. I'm basically 4 months into my PhD journey here in the University of Vienna in Austria. I'm part of the global project. It's called the Global Conservation, Cultural Histories and Theories. And there are about 10 of us from different Indigenous backgrounds around the world. I'm the only one from the Pacific, from the Southern Hemisphere. So I'm making us proud over here. I hope to make everybody proud over here. The rest of my colleagues are from Africa, Canada, Europe, all from different Indigenous background, and it's been so cool hearing about their mahi, their stories of where they come from and how that has inspired them to undertake this journey. So I'm here as well. I'm at the stage where I have 2 big topics that I can't decide. I can't decide on, and one of them is the repatriation of human remains from Samoa. Yeah, and so I'm just on a little bit of a research journey of trying to find where these human remains might be, and I'll be talking to many different people, including Dr. Tarisi here, who's very experienced and has all the connections here in Europe. And so I've started making connections here in Vienna. There's not too much in the way of human remains. But once I get into Germany, which I haven't tapped yet, I'm just trying to get myself together first. Once I get there, I've heard lots of stories of the amount of collection they have from Samoa, as well as the types of collection they hold. And so I'm really excited to get to that part, and hopefully after getting to connecting with all these different museums, but hopefully by the end of the year I will have found a topic that I feel, you know, very strongly about, and as Tarisi mentioned, something that comes from the heart. And so I'm yet to arrive to that space where I know exactly what I'm going to do, but it's all part of the journey. So grateful to be here, and also grateful for Tarisi for always holding space for us, especially emerging people like me. I really look up to Tarisi and lots of other people in the museum world who are doing work for our community. So ngā mihi e whakataute lava.
Ruby, there's been lots of positive messages coming in. People now knowing that you are currently doing your PhD, it's really amazing, you know, to have a lot of our people in these spaces. And it's also important, I'm sure Nuhi will agree to this too, for those of us who've gone through the mill, so to speak, in the field of research and PhD work, is for many of us to hold that door open, yeah, for those young up and coming researchers. I think it's really, really important. And I think, you know, having sessions like this, it's really empowering. And I hope that whoever's going to listen to this recording in the future, maybe they're sitting on the fence, so to speak, you know, not knowing what to do, like in the case of Ruby, what topic she's going to choose, or, you know, any feeling of not knowing where to go. I think this Talanoa session somehow can help guide, yeah, many of us to kind of like, oh, I heard someone made this comment. Okay, maybe I'll take this angle of this particular research that I'm going to do. Right? So Vinakavakalevo Ruby, and thank you again, everybody who are listening in today. Dr. Mary, our great supporter, Moira, Mekhed, Wilbert, and our sister Nuhi. Thank you, Nuhi, for supporting our Mahi. Those of us who work in this museum space and asking those difficult questions, which I think is really important, because, you know, asking those questions can make, you know, staff and institution to rethink, yeah, and you know, relook, or, you know, renew all those words, you know, on where we are going and how to work with indigenous communities. So I have a good feeling about this. More good things will come out. All right. So thank you again, everybody. Don't forget, next week we have our brother from Palau, McMichael Mutok Jr. So if you want to know more about what happened in Germany with the repatriation of the ancestral remains from Palau that are in Germany, please join us next week. Same time, which is Thursday for the other side of the dateline, and Wednesday for those of us here in the US. Okay, I will send out another poster with a Zoom link, and I will remind everybody to join in. Okay, give you enough time to prepare. And Ruby's having maybe coffee. It's early in the morning in Europe right now. Are you supposed to be sleeping, Ruby?
Yeah, I went to bed early so I could wake up, get up for this. I wouldn't miss it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, Ruby, for being here, and great support for STARR and everybody else that have joined in. Yeah, so for any questions, feel free to email me. My email is on the flyer, on the poster. For anybody that needs to know more about what we do in museums, especially those who are not familiar with museum spaces, just click me an email. I'll be happy to answer your questions. All right. I'll bid you goodbye now. Have a wonderful afternoon wherever you are tuning in from. Good morning to Ruby and everyone, and I'll see you all next week. Take care.
Thank you, Tarisi.
Bye. Bye,
everyone.
Naka, Naka Nuhi, Naka Ruby. Bye, everybody. Naka Kaitip. Thanks, Meket. Thanks, Moira. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dr. Mary and Vinaka Vakalevo. So I will say goodbye now and we'll see you next week. Yay.